This is After Hours, one of the spaces the 25 plus community of our church come together. The 8 p.m. service no longer exists, but our reason for wanting to reach those who are 25 to 35 still remains. Why is it that the best conversations always happen at the end of the night, after that church service ends, or once people have left the party, or in a lounge after the gig? It's in that space and during that time, when the lights are dimmed and the hype dissipates, that you start to relax. We get a bit more honest and real about our lives. We become unfiltered and go below the surface. We'll say what we really think or believe about the issues we're faced with in society. Some say it's during this stage of life that we struggle with identity exploration, instability, self-focus, feeling in between, and as though we're providing a meaningless role to society as we float from one thing to the next. But what if we could be different? What if we could make a difference? We want to get right to the heart of people who find themselves around that 25 to 35 stage of life and establish how we can positively shape the society we live in and impact the people around us as Christians. After Hours is one of the spaces we want to do that. We'll unpack the challenges and the opportunities that come with this age by hearing people's stories from our community, through Bible studies and meditations, and have raw and honest conversations with people from all walks of life. Our hope is to provoke thoughts and cause convictions to rise up in you and inspire you to create conversations of your own, which encourages you to take actions and to positively shape society in your world. Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of After Hours. How's your week been this week? You know, maybe it's been good, maybe you've had your tough times as well. Well, welcome to the club. You know, I just really appreciate you guys checking in. If you find yourself in that age group of 25 to 35 year olds, this is your space. So we want you to feel comfortable and we want you to feel welcome. You know, I heard a stat recently that lies spread 6 times faster than truth, which I was like, whoa, that's crazy, right? So I got my friends together, Fadila, Rocky and Joel, and we had a conversation about this, the impact on our own lives, our families' lives, our friends' lives, but the society at large. So why don't you check it out? I think you're really gonna enjoy it. Guys, I heard this stat recently that lies spread 6 times faster than truth. Now I heard it and I thought, my mind was definitely blown, because I think of things like in my own life, maybe it be the way that I maybe at times project myself, my false self. I think of anything from social media. I think of what we see on the news or read in the papers, what we're told about our friends or our colleagues or our family members.
It's a bit of a madness, isn't it?
It is a madness. It is definitely a madness. What do you guys think about that? 6 times faster, lies 6 times faster than truth.
Well, I think, especially like if you think of the season we've been in, especially the past like 6 months, but I think the 6 months has been like exaggerated of what happens like every day for everybody. But it's like, even when you think about like false information about COVID, it's just like breathe, don't breathe, sing, but don't sing. And then if you think about everyone's been focused on social media like so much in these past however months, and like the dreams that people sell are like pretty wild if you go on the gram. Do you know what I mean? Like you can go and be like, I know you.
And that isn't who you
and
are.
I know you don't do this.
Because
you've been in your house 5 months. Do you know what I mean? But obviously that post is gonna get, just practically, that post is gonna get more love if I'm like on my yacht with my peoples than just being in my...
But is it your yacht?
I saw a really interesting article
it
was an article talking about influencers and how they're paying, basically there's like this stage set of a plane and they'd be like going into it and looking at like their private jet, but they call people out because they're like, I've seen that same private jet in somebody else's Instagram. So it's like now people are paying for the visualization of it. So it's like they're not actually having the experience, but it's almost now, I think the funny thing is that like you're paying and you're going into it based on like what you're capturing. So like I know even like at times you can go on holiday and you're thinking about like, well, I want to get this shot, or like I've known people that have like, they've searched beforehand like what are the like on Pinterest
like
the dreamiest locations.
Places,
Because it's not about whether you had a good time or not on holiday, it's about whether you captured yourself having a good time on holiday or not.
That's very true. I was talking to a friend actually last week and he was saying when he went on holidays this time round, he decided not to come off social media for that very reason, because previous trips he'd been on, he'd come back, he's like, I'm just tired, I feel drained, because he's always looking for that next shot. How can I present like myself or the situation to look, to make it look absolutely amazing? So he said when he came back from this trip though, he was just in the moment. He was present with people or whether it be in the environment or whatever, he was there. So he came back relaxed.
One of my friends actually asked me, so when I went on holiday in the summer, I'd come off Instagram and then I posted my photos after I come back. And my friend asked me, why do you do that? And I was like, why did I do that? And then I realized if I'm being honest, it's because when you post a photo, you want to see the likes and you want to see the comments and stuff. And I just didn't want to have to deal with that while I was away. But then it made me think it actually is so true. When you post something, you're so conscious of who liked it or what comments have been said or has anyone said anything really negative towards me? And there's always that nerve-wracking thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone's deleted a picture that didn't bang.
Exactly.
Let's not lie.
Yeah.
Everyone has posted a picture and it didn't drop on the gram how you wanted it to drop. So you're
But even a step forward, I know I've previously been criminal of if it doesn't fit with I don't have an aesthetic or a thing of my Instagram, but I'm it doesn't match, and I'm what doesn't it match, and why do I care whether it matches or not?
Well, that's a really interesting thing because I think we don't think we have an aesthetic. We don't think we're projecting a vibe because everyone's I'm just normal. And it's just if you show me 5 pictures that you've taken, I could probably be
it's so
that's
true.
your vibe.
Yeah, and we've all got that Visco edit that we all use on the same
But do you think that's why we have keyboard warriors? So say people that obviously there's a lot of celebrities and even church or whatever have trolls and they're just I hate through whatever, but actually when you meet the person they're hello, hi, hello, I guess God bless you, and I'm that is not who you are on Instagram. So do you think that that's a thing that people actually feel they have to perceive themselves in one way, and it can be positive or negative, but actually who they are is completely different?
Well, I guess it's twofold because it's there's insecurities on both sides, right? Because if the reality, I feel the reality I'm engaging in isn't as exciting, I'm going to project the highlights. But then if your highlights offend me, because I'm that couldn't be you because I'm having a bad time, and you're having a good time. Yeah. Do you mean I'm going to at you? So in both kind of situations, it's and we've all been culpable of it. So I'm not saying I'm exempt from it, but insecurity of is my aesthetic good enough?
Is my image?
Is what I'm projecting?
Yeah.
Successful in whatever that means. Right?
Yeah, Matt, I was teaching you earlier what a thirst trapper is.
He loved it.
He's
probably his favourite word.
Yeah, but it's actually a thing. It's as a male or a female, I'm going to over-sexualize myself on Instagram because actually I can only guess that I'm not a thirst trapper.
I obviously don't know.
I don't know. But does it come from an insecurity of no one actually cares about who I am, it's more about how I look, and the way I look is something that's going to get me the likes or going to get me friends or going to get me followers. It's actually just isn't it? It's so sad to think that's the generation, our generation.
Yeah, but what's interesting about that as well is kind of going back to the sense as well about it being a case of it being, 6 times, it's more likely to spread 6 times a lie than it is the truth. It's the same with negative information, because if you look at that, so often in these days, because we do put on this fake persona and we do put out the perfect image, people are filtering and they're editing themselves. But if you notice an image that has been doctored or whatever it's called will, once you point that out, it's Kylie Jenner and all that will spread like wildfire in terms of the news and be well, they've edited their picture. But we thrive on it. So it's the same with not only a lie, but the negativity. Why is it that we are so quick? Because they wouldn't necessarily say if there's an image of somebody that's beautifully shot and you're that's so great, let's celebrate it. Yeah. But we love to tear down when we see the opposite of it.
Do you know what I think it might be? And I know let me know what you guys think. But I think actually our egos our egos of because I think judgment is quite egotistical. So our egos actually fight off when we're they're so egotistical, they've got a photo up of them looking so hot. But then actually that's my ego fighting inside of me and my insecurities grappling inside of me. Jealousy, because actually you can post it. If a girl wants to post a selfie, she can post a selfie. If a guy wants to post whatever, they can post whatever. Do you know what I mean? But why do we feel this I don't know, I don't approve of that, so I'm going to,
So we've established that social media is one of those ways in which we're, a place where we can project ourselves, where 6 times, faster a lie, or that projection will spread if it's not our true self than the truth. So maybe that projection of myself is actually what's going to help me get ahead.
Yeah.
Is it a bad thing?
Well, I guess like I said, if lies travel 6 times faster than the truth, that must mean that is what everybody's engaging in.
Yeah.
Do you mean like that must be the norm?
Yeah.
So why would it's an awesome question. It's like, why would I step out of flow with what everyone's doing and I'm seeing positive results there and be broke but tell the truth?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
why would I be poor when I'm seeing people be ballers and tell a lie?
Yeah.
And I think it's an awesome question because everybody's out here like, oh, you know what? I'll just buy some followers, or I'll especially when it comes to social media. But other than that, it's like, oh, I'll just sell myself in a certain way and posture myself in a certain way because I've got the edge on you, and I can manipulate a situation by presenting a false self.
But isn't that what the Bible says? Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed by the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And I guess actually as Christians, we have a responsibility to not be conformed, but to renew our minds. And then that means actually that in my day-to-day life, I can't be fake. Do you know what I mean? Because I think if I'm being fake and I'm like putting out this, I am a perfect human, I have a perfect life, I have a perfect marriage. Like, no, actually that's not true. Like, Ben and I struggle sometimes. Sometimes I don't want to get out of bed. Like, there's so many things that as humans you need to be honest about, and I think that's why we shouldn't. Is because actually we're called as Christians to bring out truth.
It's such a challenge, though, isn't it?
It is. I think it's easy to say, but to practically live that out, though.
Oh, it's
But I was
so
going to
hard.
say, what about the flip side of that, though? For example, there are people building brands, there are people building businesses, etc. And there's that motto, fake it till you make it. At what point is it why is it acceptable, for example? Because if you are, say, a brand owner, or you are, you're wanting to set a standard of influence, is it wrong to have goals? Is it wrong to set a standard? So, for example, if say picture example, but you take a picture of the room that you've just done up, your whole house is a mess and you've moved all the crap out of the way and you've got the nice aesthetic shot in, but it's creating something, it's creating a brand identity. Is that wrong? Because would that be what is the line? Where is it a point where it's you are you are not ruining your mind, you're conforming to the ways of the world? And when is it a case of actually I'm setting maybe a standard, I'm putting something in place that is better and I'm attaining to, what is the line?
I feel like the question is, when is it good to be the light that I'm told to be?
And when am I shining too much?
Why are we talking about this?
Yeah, we were literally
talking about this.
Yeah.
Because for example, right, I've forgotten what it is, but I think it's Matthew 5:14, right?
Yeah.
It says that you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is to be thrown out and trampled on foot, sending for everybody. And you are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on the lampstand it gives light to all. So it's we're called to be this light. I'm called to shine, but where does that just be me shining for ego's sake? Or when is it me shining for Christ?
When it's artificial light.
Yeah, because like
you
you're
know what I
saying,
mean?
Joel, if there's if I'm speaking life into my future and then articulating that surely isn't me just doing image.
Yeah.
But then there is a balance between me being a light and me trying to be source. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the tension. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think when you were talking about being light and being source, I think a lot of that I'm taking things within my own strength. I'm trying to do this. I'm defining what this is. I'm relying on my own confidence, on my own boldness, on my own courage, on my own the self-worth. It's me-centered, it's me-driven. I think if we're me-driven, therefore we're going to be me-focused. And me-focus is then often, if that's all I'm thinking about is me, then that projection of me, which I want you to see in whatever form it is, in whatever relationship, it's not Christ-centered. It's not coming from necessarily that place of I often think of identity in Christ. So it's if I'm centered in me, if I'm reliant in me, then I'm not centered in Christ and I'm not reliant on Christ. So therefore what I project is going to be me and not Christ.
Yeah.
Matthew 5:15 says, if I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on that hilltop, on a light stand, shine, keep open house, be generous with your lives by opening up to others. You'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. And I think that perfectly just describes it of actually, if we're doing it, we have purpose behind it. It's not for our own self-gain, but it's to put God in that spotlight. And I think sometimes that's where it can go wrong, because is it hollow? Like, what is it that we're trying to build? What is it that we're trying to shine a light on? Because if we're called to be Christ-like, then we have to reflect Christ.
Yeah.
And that does come with ultimately some conditions in the way that we do things. But I think the conditions that we place on ourselves are, like you were saying, world-like. The conditions are, well, I've got this, or I own this, or this is what my life looks like, rather than actually does it reflect Christ himself.
Yeah.
The reality is, that may mean that you don't get that job.
Yeah.
And it may mean you don't get that role. And it may mean your Instagram doesn't bang. Because like truth is like, if lies spread 6 times faster than the truth, then the truth is going to be way slower but wins eventually.
Yeah.
But I have this concept of like presidential losses, right? If I want to be president when I'm 60, there's certain shaka that I can't do in my 30s and 40s.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if everybody's out here like hitting the clock, no, people are like out here living their best lives in their 30s and 40s, and I'm taking a loss because I'm like, you know what, when I'm 60, I know I want to lead a country. So like short-term loss for long-term gain. And I think if the truth will set you free, it doesn't mean it'll set you free immediately. And I think sometimes a Christian, like, I did the truthful thing in this situation, therefore I'm going to win instantly. It's like, nah, bro, because Jesus lost mad hard in the moment.
I think that asks the question though as well, as does the truth always prevail? And the question of, because if you look at Jesus, like, he was spreading truth and they crucified him. So it's like, what does that mean for like, what does that mean? Literally, it's like
and
he died.
I think in this time that's actually a huge dilemma, because I was talking to a friend yesterday about how like they're really frustrated at the moment because their industry has just gone to pot. And actually, like, in this time, it's like, is it actually better to just be mean and just make my way to the top? Is it better? And you know that whole thing of like, it takes 10 years to actually become a overnight success. And it is that thing of like, you spreading truth and you're being a good person, and you spread truth and you build your brand and you make that clothing line and you write those songs, but it might not just happen like that. Do you know what I mean? And what we see on our socials or what we like to project is, I'm made now. I made it.
True.
I'm here.
It's that thing of that, like, we are so concerned, and I'm so guilty of it. I've had the thought plenty of times today. It's like, I'm concerned with what the world is going to see, which is my outward appearance, rather than being concerned with what God is going to see, which is what's happening on the inside.
What I think is probably one of the most terrifying things to embody is like, Jesus sees your heart. When people say like, God sees your heart. Hey, Fadila, be diligent. God sees your heart. If God actually sees my heart, I should be terrified. Because God sees my motive. Genuinely. If you actually deep that,
he sees your motive.
So the dream that I'm selling to my friends or to myself, God sees through that, right? And this isn't like a flex to be like, God sees you, behave good. But it's like, actually, like, if we believe to serve a God that sees our heart, then surely we should be constantly checking our motive. Because being a Christian is an invitation to accept that. Do you mean? It's like, it's an invitation to accept a God that sees your heart. And then therefore, if I'm doing things for the wrong motive or building a house on lies, then God's not going to bless that.
No.
Do you mean?
It's literally though, it's like where it says, in that scripture, it said like, he'll put you on that hilltop. That means he can take you off that hilltop. As soon as he puts you up there, like, he will take you off. And the truth is as well, is like, the fall from that hilltop is going to be crash, like, along the way. So it's like, it's not going to be pretty. And I think that we, like you were saying, Rocky, is that, do we actually understand that? Like, do we actually internally recognize that of like, actually, once we do choose to know Christ, like, we're stewarding something, and we have to be careful, because there are people out there who are watching, and that's it. It's like, all of us, whether we like it or not, we have a stage, whether that's in, like, you don't have to have social media for that. That can be the conversations that you have behind doors, like, because if we're saying that, lies spread 10 times quicker than truth or whatever, it means like, That's power. Information is power, and we have a responsibility to determine like what information are we putting out there. You know, is it light? Is it darkness? What are we choosing to do?
And I think actually what you've just said has taken us full circle, because I'm saying, so now we're saying it's actually not bad to be an influencer.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. It's not bad to own a brand or build a brand.
Yeah.
It's not bad to, you know, build your whatever, but what is your motive?
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
need to be checking your heart and going, God, use me in this. I want to bring fame to your name. I want to express Jesus to anyone who doesn't know you through this. And that, so there's nothing wrong with it. It's just your motive.
John 13:35 says, by this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. And it's like, they will know you by what you project.
Yeah, your fruit,
They will know you by your motive,
Yeah.
and they will know you by your fruit. And the question for us is, will they know him by what I'm projecting?
Yeah.
Will they know me by what I'm talking about? Will they know me by my actions? Because
Yeah.
if God's making a wild statement to you to be like, yo fam, they'll know me because they're homies with you. And I'm like, will they?
Yeah.
The question I have to ask myself is like, will they know me by what I'm
But I
projecting?
think it begs the question of then, what does that look like? Say, because I don't think anyone sets out with malintent and sets out to become egotistical. So I guess if the path is now like, what deters us? Like, how do we get, you know, taken off the path? How do we get taken off the track? Like, why do we become self-focused? Because again, like, I don't think that anyone sets out to become that.
Yeah, so true.
What causes that? Like,
My initial thought is acceptance.
Yeah.
I want to be accepted for, I want you to think for who I am, but let's be honest, if I remove, you know, the labels and I remove the makeup and I remove anything that looks flashy, you might actually reject me. And that's a really, really, really scary thing. So instantly, that's where we start to, do the opposite. Again, I'm gonna wear certain clothes, I'm gonna present myself a certain way, I'm gonna just add an extra little accreditation on my CV, or we were talking about online dating earlier, I'm just gonna add something else in there that's just gonna seem, you know, get that right light, whatever. Put that extra scripture that I actually can't remember, just so they think I'm holy enough or something. But it's just, I don't want to be rejected. And well, we all know where that kind of leads to.
And I guess what the truth we're trying to, all of us individually will take a lifetime to embody is that, like, you're already in.
yeah.
Do you mean like God literally just went, you're in?
But I think what Joel's asking is, from what I understand, is asking, okay, so that's where we are, but how do we deter? How do we go, Jesus, I want to do this for you, and then a year later, Fadila's mad egotistical, like, do you know what I mean? Living some crazy life.
doing her own thing.
Yeah,
but I
exactly.
think it's a daily,
and it's for me.
I think
it's not for God.
His mercies are new every morning because God knows his mercies need to be new every morning. So I feel like the one thing that the one lie that we tell ourselves is that we did one prayer and we're good forever. Like, I always call it mountain moments. There needs to be weekly mountain moments where I come before. If I use Jesus as an illustration, there are plenty of times where Jesus, just before he spoke or after he spoke to a lot of people, I'm sure Jesus got mad gassed. Because there's 5,000 people being like, that guy's a legend. And it's always like, then Jesus retreated to a mountain.
That's right.
Like, why did Jesus retreat to a mountain? So he could come face to face with a mirror that was reflecting, like, are you still about me? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like if we don't practically create those moments in our lives, whether it's an afternoon walk, whether it's one worship song when you're on the train, whether it's speaking to someone that's going to be a real talk, but like, I know I can come to you, and that's what community is so important. I know I can come to you, and if I'm being a waste man, you'll be like, you're being a waste man. Do you mean? No, swear down, you have to. Like, whether or not there's people, or it's like scripture, or it's revelation, you have to constantly get in front of the mountain and the mirror. And like you said, we're terrified of the mirror because of what the mirror will show us about ourselves. And then that inadequacy rules us out of God's love and favor, or the love of others. And it's like you were talking about the fear of rejection. But what we have to remember is that we actually have to believe that the truth will set you actually
and liberates
free.
others.
Yeah, and liberates others, because it liberates our relationship when we're honest with each other. Do you know what I mean? When we're walking outside and we can just have a real one-on-one, it's liberating.
It is.
Rather than being like, how are you doing, Fadila? I am fine. No, I'm not fine. But I actually won't find freedom unless I'm vulnerable. And it's like, that's the trade for vulnerability. Like, the more that I am open with you, Matt, the more freedom I will find in the seasons that I'm going through.
Yeah.
And I won't be just rotting away inside, do you know what I mean? Because I like behind, I know we use social media, but it's a really obvious tool. It's like behind every post is, I'm in bed sad. No, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, but if it's authentic, then there won't be that duality.
Yeah.
It won't be a projected self. It will just be, hey, I did this today. And I'm like, I'm a songwriter and I'm trying to tell stories, so naturally I'm going to take pictures of that. So it's working the right way around. It's like my life is fueling my projection rather than my projection is fueling my life, because that's not where source is.
That's good, yeah.
But if my life is my source, then like whatever I take a picture of, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm actually living that.
Yeah.
Whereas the kind of
The
attention
danger.
is like, I'm not living that. And then you try to live that, but that's not what you're living.
Yeah.
So like, that's where you get that weird duality.
In obviously Philippians, it says about being, he was found in the appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. And I think it's so interesting that we do have Christ to follow in his example, because again, we think that we need to make ourselves godlike, but actually Christ made himself manlike. And that for me is just so humbling, because I think we have to get that frame of mind in ourselves. It's like we have to lower ourselves. We have to bring ourselves to the point of death to self. And I think if we don't, it's like there are people out there actually who they identify with men. And if we're talking about, they're in the ways of this world, they do identify with men because his mercies, like you said, are new every day. If we come back to actually each day, bring myself low as a man, come back, great, he will exalt us. He will, God will have his way, he'll do his work. We just have to be obedient.
Yeah, it's like in, Psalm 37:4, where it says, delight in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. And it is that whole thing of like, I think we always want, I delight in you, Jesus. I delight in you, Jesus. I delight in you, Jesus. But actually, delighting in the Lord is meant to be chill. It's actually meant to be okay.
It's an atmosphere.
It's an atmosphere. But also, when you delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart, I've found that actually my desires have shifted. Because once I delight in the Lord, actually, I don't want the material things, or I don't want the things I've been praying for. Like, I actually want God's thing. Do you know what I mean?
Your desire becomes to know him more, to be more in his presence, and everything else comes on top of that.
And I find it mad ironic that probably the most famous human of all time, the person that's sung about around countries all around the world, who's the most books have written about, chose to become, during his lifetime, the least famous person ever. Like, and it's like, all we want is infamy. And the person that's most infamous is like, go down. Do you mean, where it was like, no, we need to go up. It's like, you want to be as famous as I am? Like, everybody would kill to be as famous as Jesus. And no one listens to what Jesus spent his whole time being like, it's not about it. It's not about me. It's not about that. Don't tell anyone, I healed you, don't tell anyone. It's like, it's constant shifting away and giving to God. He spent his whole life doing it, a whole ministry doing that. And then yet we're on this hustle to try and be as famous, whereas the journey is downwards and not upwards. You know, and like, if we can go down, like Joel said, if we can really get into the dirt of life, like, that's where the gold is. It's not in the clouds. It's like here.
And I think it's amazing because I look to the people that inspire you and the people that you look back in history and be like, they were amazing influencers. They're the people who did exactly that. They didn't go out setting out for the fame. The fame found them. And I think I just love the idea of actually like, I want to have influence, but I want it to be that, in years of time, like, they're talking about me, but I don't know they're talking about me. And it could be as simple as, one person's been like, oh, because Joel reached out to this person, my life has been changed or whatever. And I think it's those everyday heroes that ultimately have influence because they were following God and they were doing what God has asked them. And again, nobody would probably know who they are, but they are the unsung heroes.
Well, there you go. I wonder, what kind of person are you? How is it that you're living your life? Are you someone that is convicted by truth, or are you someone that's willing to compromise truth in order to get further ahead? I think it'd be pretty amazing if we were known as Christians for truth, for the way that we lived our life, and for the words that we spoke. So there's 3 really simple things that I want you to do this week. Firstly, is go away and have a look in the mirror. Assess your own life. Think about, is there things that you are compromising that you maybe didn't realize to get further ahead in your relationships or in your workplace or even in your career? And the second thing is call a friend. our friends are there to call these things out in our life. Maybe it's a blind spot or weakness. That's why it's called a blind spot, I suppose, is because we don't see it ourselves, but our friends might. And the third thing is, join a group. And if you're in a group, but you're not active, you're just on that WhatsApp chat, but you've muted it because you're like, I'm so sick of Zoom right now, guys, unmute, get back involved, bring the fun. We don't want you just to be doing this life by yourself. So if you don't have a group though, you want to join one, let us know. Our team is on the chat right now. We really want to help you. I suppose just get plugged in, stay a part of everything that we're doing. And that's what we've got time for, but we love you, we really do, and I hope you have an amazing week, and we'll see you real soon. Hey After Hours, welcome to, Hey After Hours, welcome. Yeah, and that was too high. I'll do that again, sorry. And hanging out for us with us. Hey everyone, welcome to, why am I waving?